Nvidia is up almost 60% year to date, and there are some analysts that say that it could potentially go much higher as it becomes the leader of the AI arms race. And so that's what I want to cover in this video. So guys, as you smash that like button, let me run that intro. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and let's dive right into this one because this is very interesting. I don't think a lot of people saw Nvidia running as much as it has already this year. So of course you can see that the stock has run almost 60% year to date, which is absolutely crazy. I don't think anybody really saw that happening. And an analyst came out today mentioning that you probably should be buying Nvidia stock because it will lead the AI arms race. And so effectively what they're saying is that Bank of America said that Nvidia's leadership in semiconductors for AI, so artificial intelligence applications, will boost sales in the coming years. And one thing that you guys may already be aware of is that when I initially covered Nvidia, the two areas that I talked about that they were probably going to be leaders in the future, and of course they're leaders right now as well, but these industries are developing, is the one is the AI space and the other one is the auto space as well. And when I say AI, I also mean sort of like cloud applications as well. So AI/cloud. And so, they're the ones really focusing in on that. And so they were very future focused in terms of growth. And the analyst kind of mentioned that as well. So Nvidia's full stack of accelerated silicon systems software developers positions it uniquely to lead the nascent generative AI arms race among global cloud and enterprise customers. And so he's kind of looking at it the same way that I'm looking at it. And I fully admit that I am not the biggest expert as it relates to the chip makers, and so I do have models on them. However, I model them very pessimistically, and I let you guys decide how you want to grow out the revenues for those individual segments that they report on. And so the analyst estimates that the adoption of generative AI services like ChatGPT could grow Nvidia's revenue by 25% annually through 2027. And I want you guys to remember that number because you'll see in my model, which really reflects fair value for the company, I'm modeling revenue to grow much slower than this. So the point that I'm making is that if you are a bull on Nvidia, the price that it's trading at today, despite the fact that it ran up 60%, it still could be a value to you. This is not a recommendation to buy or sell the stock. This is just valuations and just sort of like how I think about it. And so in the short term, the analyst does admit that Nvidia may be volatile if it provides a financial outlook for its data center business that disappoints Wall Street. So that's fine because that's a big growth area. But over the long term, I think there's a lot of secular tailwinds that are helping the company. And one of the ways to sort of get a better idea of that is that, investors are going to be looking towards Nvidia's annual developer conference in late March. And so I will be paying attention to that too. And I'll cover it on this channel if you guys want me to. So let me know in the comments if you guys want me to do a full breakdown of that annual developer conference if I get access to it at all. I don't know if they're going to release it on their website. I'm assuming that they would. And so here's what I mean about my model. As you can see, my estimate for revenue growth is much lower than the 25% a year that the analyst was suggesting that you forecasted out at. Notice that I'm actually suggesting that 2023 goes backwards because gaming is still maybe a little bit oversupplied in the chip space. It goes to 0% in 2024 and then grows in 2025. This could be very pessimistic. You could see gaming grow in 2024. We're already seeing hints that it could potentially do that. And so once again, very conservative. Like the fact that I'm not growing gaming at all until 2026 and then really reigniting the growth until 2027 shows you how pessimistic I am. And I really have to reconsider this valuation. You know what I'll do? I will really reconsider it after they report 2022 full fiscal year revenue. And so they'll provide us with better guidance. Plus I'll have a better understanding of the segment's growth prospects because there's generally better information in the 10Ks, I think, and so let's see how this plays out. And I'll go to my valuation in a second, but notice that, they even call out the fact that AI is the greatest technology force of our time. This is from Nvidia's latest presentation. So, they're giving you 9 areas where AI is going to be pervasive. And so, call centers, meeting transcription. I think that's really important, especially for us who enjoy reading transcripts for earnings calls. So yes, that's very important because even like during my time in equity research, we had to wait I would say at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours after the call, for somebody to manually transcribe the earnings call and then upload it into FactSet or Bloomberg, and then we would download it. So the fact that could potentially be done in real time, that'd be cool. But also, just meeting transcriptions for regular meetings that you have at work, right? So that'd be pretty awesome as well. And so I see a huge market for this. Public safety, just smart cameras being deployed all over the city. We are seeing many, many reasons why this is important, right? Just recently as well. Product recommendations is probably the one that's closest to being matured right now because it's been happening for so long. Just the retail AI space has largely been utilized for a long time. And I mean, it's still building out too. Like, make no mistake, Meta recently came out and said that they're going to be integrating AI more into their platform to make better recommendations as well. Amazon's going to be doing the same thing if they're not already doing it. But I would say that this is the most advanced AI recommendation service. And then, of course, I would say that this is sort of like level one of the direction that AI is going to go. Now, I always say that AI is going to be so pervasive that you guys are going to interact with it all the time with many different things, and you're not even going to know it. For example, you might walk into a Walmart, pick a box of cereal off the shelf, and you may not even realize it, but the moment you pulled that box of cereal off the shelf, an AI sort of like visual inventory management software will recognize that you pulled that cereal box off the shelf, and then it will tabulate that with that particular cereal box brand and everything else at all the other stores, and then determine if they need to purchase more from the vendors in real time. And so that's kind of the stuff that you're going to interact with every day, and you're not even going to realize that you've set off this chain of AI events. And they're kind of saying that here too. They're saying that the first wave of AI learned perception and inference, like recognizing images, understanding speech, recommending a video or an item to buy. This is all the stuff that I've been sort of talking about. But the stuff that I really haven't been talking about on this channel is that next wave that they're talking about here. And so that's with robotics. So AI planning actions, digital robots, avatars, and physical robots will perceive, plan, and act. And so, that's important. Like a good example of this would be a washroom cleaning AI robot, which is being designed and developed right now and being launched. So, the robot is just sort of like a rolled box, almost like a rolling box, and it just goes into bathrooms and just cleans the bathrooms as necessary. And so it identifies stuff on the floor, it'll vacuum it, it identifies that the seat's up on the toilet, it'll clean it, lower it, all whatever it needs to be. So like, this is coming, and once again, we're going to be interacting with it more than we think we are. Another example would be an automated robot just getting the carts in the parking lot and bringing them back to, for example, like a Costco. Like, think about how many people Costco hires just to bring back carts. Like, what are those wages? Well, you can automate that with a machine like that. And so, let's see how this continues to play out. And, our imagination is the only thing that's holding us back for the applications that this will support. And as it relates to the computing platforms, like I said, the cloud computing sub-segment is a big segment for Nvidia. And, they're telling you that it's a full stack problem, and it needs to optimize across every layer of computing and all three chips. So their GPUs, their CPUs, and their DPUs, and they're just putting it right here. And so, if they have the most advanced chips, well, as these people are building out these platforms, etc., you can see why Nvidia would be driving the change forward in this space. And they talk about their huge market opportunity here. So here's something cool. I said that automotive could potentially be one of their biggest segments in the future. And notice how, gaming is right now one of their biggest segments. And they're even telling you that the market opportunity for automotive is 3 times gaming. So that just gives you an idea of how much is available in this space. And so you can see that they have a $1 trillion opportunity in this space. And so, yeah, the future is coming. It's developing every day. You're seeing all sorts of stuff moving forward. I think we are in sort of like a new industrial revolution as this relates to technology. And so, we're back to like what the late 90s were, where was the internet. And so I think that, we're going to really start believing in this. And, I think the valuation sort of like believes in this already a little bit, but I think the valuation might be missing some of it as well. And so here's what I mean about that. So some people will look at the EPS for Nvidia and they'll say, look, it's trading at 114 times earnings. It is absolutely too expensive. And you know what, guys, like when I was younger, working or, investing my portfolio, I would have probably said the same thing. And you know what, I did say stuff like that about Amazon back in 2002, 2003. But the problem that you're missing out on is if you just focus on this one number, what you're really not focusing on is the level of growth that they're growing out their EPS at. Look, they just have a higher growth trajectory. And the point that I'm making is that, I'm valuing this company at around $170 per share, but I'm valuing it at $170 per share on extremely, like I would say, very extremely conservative growth estimates. So if you have higher growth estimates, which are closer to what that analyst is saying, even if you have it around like 17% annualized revenue growth, beyond 2024 at least, make revenue growth slow in 2023, make it a little bit slow in 2024, but then start growing it at 17% beyond there, you're going to get to a much higher valuation than I'm coming to, like a lot higher. And so the point that I'm making is that I think it's just a little bit more than fairly valued on extremely conservative growth estimates. So that really shows you the potential that is here. The reason why I'm extremely conservative with my growth estimates is because this is an industry that is somewhat outside of my circle of competence. I'm learning it more and more every day, but this is a fast changing industry. I think a company like Nvidia does very well over the long term, but I can't tell you where what chips are going to be their top 1, 2, and 3 selling chips in 2030. You know what I mean? And so like it's a tough industry to predict, and it's really tough to understand who their real competitors are as well, because in terms of chip design, you're seeing more and more people enter the space. Apple's designing their own chips now. Alibaba's starting to design their own chips. So, who knows who comes from the left or the right? We don't really know. And I would argue that I am not competent enough in this space to be able to see how this plays out. And so that's why I'm very conservative with my estimates. You guys might decide to be a little bit more optimistic with your estimates, and then you're just going to get a higher valuation. It'll just seem like more of a value to you. Some of you guys were buying early January of 2022, and you guys have seen that 60% run up. So, congratulations to you guys who can see this better than I can. But there is another way to play this chip revolution, albeit it may not necessarily be that exciting. And so what do you think I'm talking about? Well, I recently did a whole video on Taiwan Semiconductor. And so I think, that this might be the cheaper way to invest in the AI revolution, because at the end of the day, Taiwan Semi is the one making all the chips that are being designed by all these other fabless chip designers. And so, another guy who thinks the same way as I do is Buffett. They recently invested a ton of money into Taiwan Semi. So that might be an interesting opportunity. And I highly, highly, highly encourage you to take a look at that valuation model that I have at the Patreon, tracker for Taiwan Semi. It's very exciting in my opinion, and it is a position that I probably will end up including into the portfolio before the end of this year. Now, how do you get access to that model and sort of like that to see that valuation? Well, you can access all of the research at this lower tier of the Patreon. That gets you access to the tracker and all the individual models that I build manually by hand to sort of forecast these companies out. And if you want to join us on an epic live presentation, you can join us at that higher tier. Now, speaking of cloud computing, I actually recently just put out a video on Alibaba, which if you've missed it, you can actually get to that video right here.